Hi everyone. Today we're going to do an unboxing of the new YoraHome 6550 Pro laser engraver. I'm really excited. This is the newest model with all the bells and whistles, and I cannot wait to get started with it. So let's go ahead and get going. We're going to do an unboxing of everything, then we're going to do an assembly video, and then we're going to go ahead and get it connected and do a test burn with it, and hopefully have some fun. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna zoom in better view for you guys. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Very excited about this machine. All right, so what we got here. Everything's nice and neat. On a little part here, you've got the air pump. Everything's labeled, separated out for you. Very nice setup. So we're gonna go ahead and lay this out, and then we'll do an assembly of it all. One thing I want to mention is once you think you have everything out of the box, down in here there is a black rail here. Don't forget it down in the bottom there. Don't miss out on that. Make sure you pull that out of the box and get everything out, and we can go ahead and get started. Okay, so you should have your control box with the drag chain and wires on it and a bunch of other things here. What I would recommend is opening up your manual and go into the first part where it says packing, the packing list. And you don't have to count all the screws, but just make sure you got all the main components. You know, you got the laser, the motor assemblies, that type of stuff, your gantry assembly, your rails. Going through everything and making sure that you have it all, so that you're not missing out. And you know, the screws have the labels on them, so you can, I guess you can kind of look there if you want to, M3, M6. I like to go through everything just to make sure I have pretty much what I need to get going, because I don't want to get halfway into it and not have what I need. So I'm going to go ahead and check mine real quick, and we'll go from there. I want to just go down the line here of what we got. Be very careful when you're opening up these bags. You don't want them to get caught on anything. There's one in particular, this one right here. Just be very careful when you open up the bag, because the limit switch is stuck right there on the bag. So please just be careful with that. Okay, we've got our assembly. We've got the laser, the tool kits. We've got the lens. Let's open up the screws here. All the different bags of screws, limit switch. Make sure you have all that is needed. Save the little bags for any extra parts you may have. We've got the air pump, the legs, the power for the air pump, the USB cable. This is probably the power, yeah, the main power for the unit. Make sure that you only use this one. If you have an old one, you cannot use the old one because the voltages are different. Let's see, we got the 5 rails rather. You've got the X-axis and then the Y and the other 2X. Let's see, we've got our tool kit, the pump. We've got the Z-axis, should be built onto your laser already. The legs, your measuring tool kit here, the rotary wire, and some brackets. So yeah, I think we pretty much have everything. Like I said, feel free to go down the list here. If you see things separate in the packing list, like the Z-axis. It already is connected to the laser, so you know, don't panic about that. Just kind of go, just make sure you got everything here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move a lot of this stuff out of the way so that I can work on the parts that are needed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually walk through the manual with you, and we're going to get it put together and go from there. So let me get some of this out of the way here. Hi everyone. So now that we've got everything put aside, we're going to go ahead and do the assembly of the YoraHome 6550 Pro, the new machine, the new laser engraver. It's not that difficult. We're going to get right through this pretty quickly and get you up and running. So the first thing we're going to do is get your rails out. We have the two rear rails, and then we have the two, well, one the front and one the back rails. And the first thing we're going to do, I'm actually going to kind of go through the manual with you, and I'm going to show you how I would do it, a little bit easier ways to do things, and I'm going to show some still pictures, some close-ups and so forth of the different parts. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is we need the right motor assembly, and this is going to be on the right hand side of the machine. Now remember, the front of the machine is going to be to me here, and the back is here, and obviously the right and then the left. So we're going to go ahead and start with the right motor assembly, and what we're going to do is have the motor plugs here facing towards you, and what's the easiest way to say this here, if you've got the 3 holes at the bottom, and then you have the few up top here, and this is what we're going to want to put here. So we are going to get this bracket. This is the one we're going to put on here, and this is actually the drag chain bracket. And we're going to put 2 screws in here. It's going to be those 2 right there. So the first thing we need is the M3-6, and we need 2 of those, and 3 of the M5-8 for the next piece. So 2 of these. Now we're only going to put these 2 screws in. You can see that, just those 2, this one and this one. That's all we're going to do. Okay, you see I got those 2 screws in there, just that one, and that is it. So now we're going to turn it over, and well, I guess you just lay it on its back like so. And what we're going to do is, this is it's the drag chain support, and what it is it's going to go on like this. You can see this is facing towards me, so it's going to go on like this, and what it's going to do is actually support the drag chain. It's actually going to go in between this roller and the plate here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this on. Now it takes the 3 screws, but we're going to leave them really loose, and the reason why is because we need to put the wiring harness in here, and I'll show you here in a second. So for this one, you're going to need the M5-8 screws, and again, there are the 3 on here. So if you're holding the motor assembly, you have the bracket we just put on. It's going to go underneath just like this. So I'll do that. Just do a few turns for each one. Maybe like 3 or 4 turns for each one, and that's it. Okay, so now the reason why we do that is because you see how this hangs down? When we put the drag chain through here, we need the wiring. We're going to hang this down, and the wiring needs to just slip up in here, and then we're going to put drag chain through, and then we're going to tighten them all in. So we're just going to leave it loose right now. I got a couple turns on each one of these, and that's it. So we could put this aside for a minute here. Move this over here. Okay, so now the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to put the rail inside the rollers here. And again, we're going to make sure that the 0 is here, 50 is up here, and the bore is facing out, and you know, the 0 on this end. And how that's going to be, let's see here, the motor, we're going to have the motors on the outside, which is on the way to where the numbers are here, and you're just going to slide it right into the rollers here. If you have any type of issues rolling it in there, if you can't get it in there for whatever reason, you're going to see, grab your wrench that you got with it, and you're going to see 4 nuts here. You can start with the top and just give it a minor turn, like a very, very little bit, and it should loosen it. See if you can get it in there then. Same thing with the next one, and see if you can get it to go in there once it goes in there, or if you can, just get it in there. It might actually be a little loose, and what you're going to want to do is then just turn these counterclockwise. I turn them. Just keep going one direction. Don't go one way then back again, because you're just going to go forward, backward. What you want is you want this to slide nicely. You don't want it to be loose, but you don't want it to be tight. So I'm going to, if you're turning counterclockwise and it's getting tight, like mine's getting tighter, I want to actually come back a little bit until it loosens, and make sure that you do kind of the both evenly if you can. That one's a little bit snug, so take your time with this and make sure that you see, that's really tight. Make sure that you get it the best you can, because this is kind of really important. So as you can see, this wheel here is pretty much turning. I could turn it without touching this, which means it's up too high. So I'm going to go back a little bit, and now it's a little more. Now it's touching pretty good. Actually, a little more. Now it's really good. It won't slip at all, and that's what I want. Now this one I feel is too tight. I'm going to come back and do the same thing until that one's loose. So now this is really loose. So now I'm going to come back a little more, tighten it up. That's actually pretty good. So it's not, there's no wobble, and it goes back and forth smoothly. So this is what you'll end up with. You've got the motor mount, like this. You've got the motor mount right here, motor on the outside, 0 to the front of it here, and your bores facing outward. And that's the right hand side. That's the motor assembly with the rail. So now we're going to install the belt, and we're going to install the limit switch down here. Now you have 3 belts. You've got you've got 2 short and 1 long. The 1 long one has 2 copper grommets, or gold grommets, whatever they were, probably copper. And you're going to put that aside for now. And we're going to just use the 2 shorter ones. I'm going to put 1 aside, one's for each side of it. And we're going to go ahead and put the belt on here. Really simple, really easy to do. I'll show you a little trick that I do all the time. I just get one of my little Allen wrenches, and what I do is I push it all the way through, so it comes out on this side here. You can see somewhere here. So all the way through here, and then what I do is kind of like, if you see what I'm doing, I kind of push it together till it bows up. When it bows up, I try and push it and make a bow up in the middle here. Once it bows up, then I just take and loop it right around the gears. Really simple. So I'm going to actually grab both ends, and I'm going to get close, and I'm going to push it, and with my finger, you see it bowing up, that's it. And just kind of move it over, and boom, just like that. So that was really easy. I'm going to do it again for you, just so that you can see it. I just get it close in here. Hopefully you can see this pretty good. And then I kind of get my fingers close so it can't bow out here. And just kind of like push it in, just kind of work it. And you see it bowing right up, boom, just like that. And that's it. So you're going to want even amount here at each end. It's pretty good right there. Right about there's good. And you're going to need your belt clamps, screws. What they do is they slide right in here. You can see this. like so. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to make sure that you leave enough room that we're going to be able to put that bolt in here. Now what I'm doing is I'll do one side at a time, so I'm going to tighten this side down. Okay, and now I'm going to turn this side around and I'm going to pull it and make sure that all the tension is out. You don't want it really, really tight. You only want it snug, and you're going to want this snug. Like again, if you have it too tight, you're going to put too much stress on the motor and the wheels, or the wheels, and you're going to wind up just burning it up. So I like to go ahead and loosen this, slide it on there to about where I want it roughly, and just hold my finger lightly, and then pull it, and then kind of pull up. Make sure that you have enough room, and I'm pushing down now. I'm pushing down on it with my finger hard, and keep pressure on it, and then tighten it in. If for some reason that does not work for you, there's another method I do. You can see my belt's loose now. I kind of pull it. This finger here I use to brace it. Use my thumb to pull it, kind of like using chopsticks. And then make sure you have enough room there. Take your time, and then just go ahead and tighten it in. Keep tension on it. Just keep tension on the belt. Whoops. And that's it. And then when you're all done, you should definitely have some tension on there. You don't want it to slip, so you don't want it to be loose. If you have to undo it and do it again, so be it. You want to make sure that's in there nice and good. Don't over tighten these, but definitely make sure they're pretty snug. Okay, so now this is the motor. This is the right hand side. Easy. We're going to flip it over upside down, and you're going to see a hole right here. And this is going to be for our limit switch. So let's get the limit switch, and we need one M5 20 screw. So they call this an end stop, which end stop, limit switch, whatever you want to call it. And get an M5 20 screw. What it does is this piece here is going to come in, it's going to hit the limit switch, and it's going to stop it. So I'm going to go ahead and start that in. Very simple. M5 20 screw. Tighten in. Do not over tighten it. There we go. Make sure it's straight up and down here. Good. And then just give it a good tighten, but not over tighten it. And then what that's for is this comes down and hits your limit switch. And that's that. So now you might notice your motor's a little bit tighter. The rollers here, because it's just, you've got the belt on there now. My belt actually feels like it's a little bit too tight. It may or may not be. I may have to adjust that later, so keep that stuff in mind. Alright, so that's the right hand side assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and put this out of the way here. Let me make sure. We're going to go on next to the left side. So I'm going to move this one out of the way. The other rail here for the left side, again, the 0 is down here, 50 is up here. You've got your bores on the outside, would be on the left, on the outside over here, and you've got your notches all on the inside right here. So this is how it's going to sit, just like this. So this is how it's going to be on the left hand side. So keep that in mind. We have that, and then now we have the roller assembly, the motor for the left side. Now the left side motor is going to be, pretty much the same exact thing. The motor's going to go on the bottom, and it's going to be on the outside. So again, if this is the outside, this is the outside, we're going to slide it in there. If yours does not go in that easy, same exact thing. You've got 4 nuts here, and you just have to turn them. And you'll see mine went in pretty easy. You get my wrench, and it actually is a little loose. So I'm just going to start with these 2 screws and just turn them kind of clockwise until they tighten up. So I'll start with this one a little bit, and this one a little bit. Actually, it's not wobbling. Oh, yeah, it is. It's a little more. Oh yeah, now it's starting to snug up. I mean, you can see how a little bit I'm turning it. Like this one here, the roller's turning without even touching, which means I got to go more for sure. And I could tell if I keep going, like it's starting to now rub a little more, and now I can't even turn it. Now it's really good. Feels like it could be a little tight. Whoops, a little too tight. Again, you don't want it too tight. That's actually pretty good right there. And I mean like so little like this. That's how little you turn it, and that's actually pretty good. Make sure your rollers are not rolling without touching the rail. And it's pretty good right there. Same exact thing. So make sure you have that right. The numbers are on the outside. There's motors on the outside. This is your left side. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put in the belt on this way. And I'm going to do it the exact same thing that I did before. I'm going to put in the belt, push it up, put the clamps in, and go from there. So let's put the belt in, slide it all the way up. All the way up. Okay, here, and then now again, I'm going to just put this on an angle. You can see it pretty good, hopefully. I'm going to just push in to make a bow up in the middle, just like that, and done. If you can't get your finger in there, you can use a little Allen wrench, just kind of like loop it up, pull it up for you. And once you pull it up here, you could just then maneuver it right around there, and that's it. Very simple. Very, very easy. This is these are some of the harder parts for some people. The struggles is the belts, and I know I'm taking a while. You can skip past this. I'm gonna go ahead and do it one more time for you, and really, really simple. I just lift it up, pinch it in. Oops, see, now mine's bowing on the outside, so I'm gonna make it bow on the inside, and then just grab it and loop it around in there. So that's it. Whoops, really simple. So I'm going to make these even. Whoops. Don't do that at home. I'm going to make these even. I'm going to put one end in. Tighten it down. There we go. Just take your time doing this. It's very simple. Again, make sure you leave enough room here. For the bolt here. Another thing is, you see what I just did here? I tightened it too tight, and it actually pulled my belt to the side, so I'm going to take that back out, and I'm going to reseat that, because we want to make sure we do it right and don't have any problems. Make sure the belt stays flat. It wouldn't hurt to maybe put your finger there if you have to, and then tighten it down. So that first time I tightened it too tight. So now let's switch around the other side and do the same thing. Pull that tight. This piece in here, you can see this. Same thing, we're going to want to make sure that we leave room for the bore there. I'm going to pull it with my finger here, and then I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up. In there. Okay. You should have some nice tension on your belts there, and this should roll freely, nice and smooth. Don't roll it fast, and it's good. So for the next step, we're going to take the Z-axis. It's the laser mount. I call it the well, that's the Z-axis housing unit. And it has the rollers on it. It's got the limit switch on the back. Now when you take this out the bag, be very careful, because my limit switch was stuck on the edge of the bag, and you don't want to break that. So please, before, I actually just wound up cutting my bag open and pulling it out easily. I don't know why some of them did it that way, but I want to make sure that you're aware that if it's in a bag, just be very careful, because these are very delicate and they'll break just like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got here. We've got, this is the Z-axis, what I call it the housing. It's going to go on the X gantry, which is the top rail, I guess you can call it. And what we're going to need is, we're going to need 7 of the M3-6 screws, which are here. And I will show you why. Whoops. Come on. Alright, so we just need 3 for right now, and what we're looking at here is, when you're looking at the 4 rollers, and then your limit switch right here, you've got a bracket. That bracket is, you have another, this is another drag chain bracket. It's a mount, and you have the 3 holes like this, and this is going to go underneath. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put the 3 screws right through there, and then again this is going to be up underneath, as you can see. It's going to go down like that. It's not going to be upward, it's going to be down like that, and we're going to put the 3 on there. So let's go ahead and do that. I don't know, let's see, maybe this way. Just be very careful because this is your sensor, your flame sensor, so just be very careful of that. So I like to just put the screw in there and then put the plate up to it and just spin the bolt. That kind of works better for me. And then the next one on this end. Okay, for our next step, there's a couple little differences here. Our manual had some typos, so just keep this in mind. I previously said take out 7 of the M3-6 screws. It was actually only 3 we needed, and we needed 4 of the M3-8 screws. So I'm going to go ahead and take 4 of the M3-8 screws out, and I'm going to put my other 4 M3-6 screws away. So I have one of the first manuals, and unfortunately I missed that first part. But, so we needed for this 3 of the M3-6 screws, and the next step we're going to need 4 of the M3-8 screws. So with that, we're going to need our laser. Go ahead and take it out of the package. Again, be careful. And you might have the shield here with it. Just go ahead and take that off. We don't want that to get damaged. Put it aside. So a couple different things here. Now, the manual shows the Z-axis separated from the laser. You can do it either way. If you want to just follow this and take the safe step or whatever you want to call it, all you got to do is take these 2 screws out right here, flip it over, take those 2 screws out right there, and then the laser just comes right off the gantry. And then you just put those screws either aside or back in or whatever, it comes right off. If you want to keep this on, the difference is if you put this on here, that's okay, you can still screw it on there, no problem. It's just a little heavier to work with when you're doing with the rails. So because everybody has theirs on there, I'm going to go ahead and assemble it that way. And again, if you want, you can just simply take those 2 screws off, or 4 screws out, and it comes right off, and then you have it on here, and that's entirely up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and put it on here just to show you that it can still be done. It's just going to be a little bit heavier when you're trying to put the gantry on top, but it really is still not that big a deal. Maybe if you feel like you don't want it to be in the way or damage it or whatever you want to call it, then go ahead and take it off. One of my previous videos, I went ahead and took it off, so it really didn't make a difference. When you're looking at the back here, you're going to see the laser, the gantry is just going to be flush. The top here is going to be flush. So you're going to lay that on there, and then once you do, you're going to see the 4 holes here, and you'll see the 4 holes, and then the nuts on the other side, the screws on the other side. I said screws. The holes. Take a picture of that. And so I'm going to just lay it down flat, lay that on there. Again, these are the M3-8 screws. And just tighten this in. Again, be very careful. You've got your limit switch. Of course, this is the laser, so you want to be careful with it anyway. Go ahead and tighten them in. And again here. Now, one thing I want to show you before we go forward, since this is going to be assembly videos, see the back side of this plate here? When you turn this around, we're going to put a belt through here. We're going to put a belt on here, and it's going to go down and around. It's going to come back on this side. When I'm talking to you, showing you the belt has to slide into the hook, These are the hooks right here. They're really easy. The belt just goes in and turns up. This one actually just goes right up. It just goes in and turns up. So when we go into that later, you'll actually have a good shot of that. So let's go ahead and put this aside, and let's go on to the next step. So now we're going to need the gantry. So this is your X-axis rail, which I call the gantry. It's called the rail, whatever you want to call it. It's more so in here referred to as the X-axis gantry rail. And you have two ends, one with a white plug and then one with a black plug. And this says Y. This one says Y too, but it has the white plug. The white plug is the one that's going to go in the first way. So here's how this goes. You're looking at the laser housing like this, right? You got the limit switch on the right, you got your 4 rollers here, and it's resting on the laser right now. So this is going to go in this way, just like this. So the ribbon cable here is going to be on the bottom. This is your bottom right here. Laser is going to sit upward, and this is the bottom. And so what you're going to do is just kind of take this and kind of put it into the channel here, and I'll pull it forward like this and let it roll right in there, as you can see what I'm doing here, and just let it roll right in. Just be careful with that wire. Again, if for some reason you can't get it to roll in there, if it's too tight or something, you have 2 nuts right here that you can adjust them to loosen these up. But you see mine just slid right in there, and it's actually a little bit loose, so I'm going to adjust them. So what I would recommend would be to have it in a safe spot here and put the rail maybe like halfway so it doesn't tip one way or the other, and get your wrench and hold on to it and go ahead and give it a counterclockwise turn a little bit, just a little bit, until you feel that snug up. Go some more. More. I think it's getting looser. Just keep going until you feel them both snug up a little bit. That's actually pretty good right there. I think it could be a little tighter. I mean, little tighter. A little bit. And you definitely want it. There we go. You definitely want it snug. You do not want it loose. So that is your gantry rail. So when you're looking at this here, you should now have the laser, or just the Z-axis, whatever you choose. Just don't drop this. And you have the black wire on the right. You have your red or the white wire end on the left, and you have your 3 holes on the top here on the top right, and just one bore hole up here. So make sure you hold your laser there. If you have to, just lay it down and review what I just said here by looking at everything you have, and you should probably better do it this way. And there you go. So that is now the top gantry part, and that is now assembled. Okay, so for our next step, what we're going to do is, we're on part 2, step 10 by the way. We're going to now just connect the frame together, and we need 4 of the M5 20 screws, which are right here. So let's get 4 of these out. 4. I'll move this stuff in the middle so that I can work, and we're going to need the medium wrench. Just kind of get everything organized for you. Remember, this is the left side of your motor here, and I'm going to turn it around here. I'm going to lift the camera up a little bit so you can see. And then you have, this is the right side, and this is going to go like this. Just be careful setting it down, because don't forget you have a limit switch here, and this is the left side. So now, again, your front and rear rails are as shown. You have the 0s here, the 65s up here. The actual rulers are on the inside, and the numbers are to the outside. So you're going to turn it like this so that the 0's here and the 65 here, and you can actually read these numbers, or facing you. So that means this is your front rail and this is your back rail, just like so. So I'm going to put the front rail right here. And another way you can tell is if you're looking at this, you've got 2 screws and then 3rd one here, and then you have 2 here and 1 all the way out here. So that's how you know you do have the correct front rail. But again, if you're holding it like this, the 0's on your left, 65's on your right, and you can actually read them. So that's how you know you have the right one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this together. I'm going to put the, actually I'm going to do the, it really doesn't matter if I do the back or the front first. I'm going to do the front. And what we're going to do is, remember we left a hole here, or we left an opening here. It's going to go through, and it's going to go right into the front rail. So I like to put the screw in, and then hook my wrench into it. Just allows me to hold it better, and then hold this piece up. Whoops. Didn't work out very well, did it now? And then just give it a good turn, get it started. Okay, so I didn't tighten it. I only just like a little bit snug. You can actually see it's still a little bit loose. So I don't want to tighten it yet until I get the other piece over here on. So the same thing on this end. We're going to I'm putting the screw in, and I'm going to hold this motor up here. Get the screw started. A couple turns, and I should be able to go. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead, I have it in, I'm going to go ahead and tighten this. I'm going to make sure it's flat. You want to make sure this is flat right here, it's really important. And now I'm going to tighten this side. It should also be flat. You may have to lay this down, because if you turn like this, it's going to twist it. So I mean, you could just tighten it. When you get all 4 on there, and maybe the legs on there, we can go back and just loosen them if we have to adjust them, but we probably won't have to. Now, same thing with the back. I'm going to go ahead and put the back screws on here. I'm going to show you something. So if you have the power box here, this is the power brick, the 24-volt adapter. I kind of use it to prop things up. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put it on this end. I'm going to move that rail up. I'm actually going to prop this up right here to hold that down on that end, if you can see what I'm doing there. And then I'm going to get my screws. We're actually going to use that for a couple things. And as you can see, that allows me to put the rail up here without having to hold it up, and work a little easier. So that's a little something you want to take a look at. Again, this is your top rail here. Make sure the 0 is here, the 65 is here, and that's how you want it. As you can see, that was a little easier. And now I'm going to tighten this one. Whoops. Like I said, just take your time. This is it's a beautiful machine. Got all kind of bells and whistles. So now I can remove this, and there's your frame piece. And if you have to now with balance here, if you feel that these are not flat, just loosen it and turn this. Make sure it's flat. Mine are pretty good. Just want to make sure mine are pretty tight. It's important. Okay, so there you go. That is your pieces here. You can have these in the middle if you want to help balance it for you. That's up to you. Just be careful. You don't want to, bust up any of the limit switches or end stops or the motors. Just be very careful with it. And we're going to go on to the next step, which I believe is the feet. So part 2, step 11, we're going to put the feet on. And again, we're going to use our little piece here. I'm going to actually use this again to pull this up so that I can actually put the feet on both sides and just make life a little easy for me. So we need 4 of the M5-20 screws and 4 of the M5-8 screws. This is the front of the machine, okay? This right here is the front. right here is where the control box is going to go. If you look down here, you've got 2 screws here, or I keep saying screws, you got 2 holes here and 1 hole here, and you just got 2 here and 1 here. So this piece, this is the only leg that's different. All of them are like this. This one is going to go on this end, and it's going to go on there with the drag chain bracket toward the bottom, right there, just like that. The smaller screw goes into this piece of the rail here, and the longer screw goes in here. So, and you see the angles go like this on all of them. The angle is going to be cut on the inside of the frame. So I'm going to put this one on. And this is why I was saying hold this up here, just kind of makes it a little easier for you. But don't tighten it up just yet. I'm going to put this one in. Once I get it started, then you can just tighten them in. Okay. All right. So, got that one. And make sure that's nice and snug. And now we got this one. So on the left side, it's the same thing. You've got angle like this. So this was on the right, like so, and now this one's on the left, like so. And these, none of these really matter which is which. You know, you can use them either side. This is the only one that is really important. That is the one you use there. These here, you just do the same thing. Alright, now so for the back, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use our little trusty little power block here. And we're going to lift this up. I actually think I spent more yet, so I'm going to lift this up and do the exact same thing. We're going to put these on. Again, the angle is on the inside. So it's going to go on the back here. I know you can't see it that well, but it's the same thing as the front. Now you should have a nice flat, not wobble frame. Everything should be tight and snug. And we're going to go ahead to the next step. Okay, so for our next step, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the X-axis gantry on here. And we're going to secure the screws and then install the wiring. The step we're on part 2, step 12. This is one of the parts that I want you to be very careful, because remember, I have the laser mounted to the gantry. So if you do also, all I'm just saying is just be careful, because you've got your flame sensor, you've got your laser on here, you got your limit switch, so just be very careful of it. So go ahead and grab that. Let's put it over here, and I put some felt feet on mine so I can slide it around. And I'll go ahead and pull this toward me. Same thing here, and I'm going to turn this a little bit. I'm going to actually put it right here for a minute. I'm actually turn this so you can see. Whoop. So you're going to need 5 M5 18 screws, M5 by 18, which are here. You're going to need 5 of these screws. And I'm going to show you what we have to do. Pretty easy. Let's get our wrench. So before you do anything, remember that this is the front of the machine here. So the laser is going to be toward me, and you've got your white wire on this side, which is going to plug into this motor, and it says Y on it. So that's the way it goes. Now I'm going to just hold my laser still so you can see. You got 3 holes here and with 3 bores, and then on this side you have 1 bore. So what I want you to do first is you're going to put your gantry on here, and you're going to hold it with your hand so the laser doesn't go. That's why I like to do it like this. If you bring these forward, you can just hold one hand here and then put your screws in with the other hand. either way, as long as you hold it. But what I want you to do is make sure, I'm going to turn this so you can see here, you see this wire on this side and then you have one on this side. Make sure they do not get pinched under here on the frame. That's really important. So if you have to pull it down out of the way, just make sure it does not get pinched. You've got 3 screws here and 2 up here, and we're going to put screws into the bore places here. So make sure it's out of the way. First thing you want to do, just hold it with your hand here and make sure, whether you have the laser on there or not, you still need to hold this and make sure it stays still. But like I said, the laser gives a little more weight. So what I want to do is I'm going to hold it here, make sure the wires, and I'm going to take 1 screw and I'm going to put it on this front one here. Now, I just kind of like move it around a little bit until I feel it getting seated, and I'm going to tighten it down a little bit. Now that I have it tight, actually it's not going to go anywhere. But I still just want to be a little careful. You have that one in here, and now this one, you don't want to, bend the rod to move over. What you want to do is you want to move the motor, lift this up a little bit, and you want to move the motor down a little bit until it lines up. And then you're going to get another screw, and you're going to put it in the hole where the bore is here. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and put this screw in there, and what you're going to do is just kind of move it around a little bit until you feel it seated in there, and then you're going to tighten it in. And you're going to give it pretty tight, pretty good. And then now here, you can go ahead with the other 2 screws. Now we've got 2 more screws here, or 2 more holes here that we're going to put 2 in. And we can go ahead and knock them out now. They should go right in. If they don't go right in, I would say loosen this one up and kind of like you maybe have to twist a little bit, but it should be, they should go right in. We could tighten them down pretty snug. Okay, that's going to get that one good and tight. And you've got one here. Now this one, what we got to do is I'm going to turn this around for you so you can see. I'm going to show you a really easy way to do this. Okay, so the instructions want us to turn the machine over, and you'll see there's a hole right here on this end closest to you. And what we got to do is put one of these screws up. There's underneath it here, there's another hole, bigger hole, and the screw goes up and connects right into that. Now, I found it a little easier to do a little differently. So if you want to turn the machine over and put this into the in the hole there, tighten it in, that's fine. One of the ways I found to do it is to again brace it up, and you can then just reach up under here, and you can put the wrench under there if you want. If you have someone hold it up for you. Now I hold it up like this. Just be very careful. I mean, obviously it's pretty sturdy, but then I put the wrench in the nut here, and then there's the hole, and you can kind of look under there if you want. Really easy. And then I just go right up the middle there, and boom, just like that. It should just fit right in there, and just tighten it right in. Just like that. Just be easy with it, and that's it. Hold the machine when you tighten it, and that's it. So again, if you, whoops, careful your laser running. If you want to turn it over, that's up to you. I find it a little easier if you want to just use your little brick here, brace it up. Just make sure you keep this close to it, because you don't want to brace it up down here and then the weight balances. So you want to have this close to it right here. And then you can see the little hole right here. You'll be able to, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And just put the screw in there. You'll see it comes right there, and just tighten it right in. Just put it up in there. And then go ahead and remove this, and that's it. So I'm going to turn this back around now. And what we have next is the top limit switch bracket here. So it's a limit switch touch plate, it was called. So we got the one M5 25 screw, and then you have a little bracket like this. And what this is going to do is it's going to go just like this here. It's going to face the laser. M5 times 25 screw. And it's just going to go right into the center hole now. Same thing. Oops. Tighten it down. Make sure it's straight. You want it to be definitely straight with this here. And how that works is, just again, roll this easy, is you'll see the limit switch hits that and stops, and that's what it's for. And that's it. So just to double check where we're at here, whoops, don't let it fall off the thing. Make sure that you do not have your wires pinched. Super important, make sure they're not pinched, they are freely. Not underneath it. Okay, so it's good. So just double check that. Make sure you've got the screw here, up there, the one underneath. All right, so now the next step, I went and turned my machine too soon. The next step, we're going to put the belt tensioner on this end right here, and then we're going to actually put in the X-axis belt. And it's actually going to be really simple, easier than you think it might be. So the first thing we want to get is our belt tensioner here. And what we're going to do is, if you have this too loose for some reason and your screw comes out, not a big deal, just kind of push that. You can actually put your finger there and push it that way, and so that the screw, or so that you have the piece inside, and then you can push it back up like that. But anyway, these T-lock nuts here, let's see, loose, make sure they're loose, not too loose, but you want them enough where they're going to fit right down inside of this channel here. And then you're going to give it a tighten. You're going to loosen it and give it a good spin so that that nut turns sideways and locks up in there. Same thing with this one. And you don't want to over tighten it because it's just plastic. So just kind of get it snug. No big deal. Snug and you're good. Okay, the next step, we're going to install the belt on the X-axis. It's actually going to be hopefully a little easier than it looks. You have your longer belt and you have the gold grommets on it here. And what we're basically going to do is, you remember those slots that I showed you earlier on this Z-axis assembly here. There's one here and then there's one on the other side. Remember I was saying that it has to go up, it's got to go in the slot, so it's going to go in the slot and then turn up like that. Really easy. The gears, or the teeth on this belt, always face inward. So on this side it faces inward, and on that side it faces inward. So that all you see is the black on the belt. And basically what the belt is going to do, just so you get an overview here, is it's going to latch here, going to go all down the channel, through that belt on the back, or through the motor gear, all the way down the back side, through the tensioner, and then back up, and then latch on this side. So basically, it's just going to do one complete loop. So the first thing, I actually find this one to be the harder one. This is actually the first one, but just kind of put the belt in, make sure it's facing that way, away from you, the teeth, and see how it just kind of slides right in. And then I'm going to actually turn it up, twist it and turn it up like that, and then kind of pull it, push the grommet so the grommet's tight up against the metal frame, just like that. If you could see that. Okay, now that we have this in, we're going to go ahead and feed the belt all the way down and around and connect it up. It'd be pretty easy. I'm going to just slide the machine because I can't walk around it because of the camera. It might be a little easier for you to do this, but just remember we want to keep this flat. So the teeth are always going to be facing inward, and that's it. So I would recommend go ahead and slide the laser down, run my finger on here and keeping the belt flat. I'm going to make sure it's staying this way. And then I'm going to go ahead and feed it through. So if you can see this, whoops, you can see this here, I'm actually going to feed it through the motor. It's going to stay on this side of the gear. It's going to go all the way through, and then I'm actually going to go back through the other side of the gear and then the other side of the rail. Okay, now that we have it through, we're just going to feed it nicely, and if it pulls onto the gear, just pull it slow. It's okay. Keep pulling all the way down, and what's key is make sure this is flat the entire way. The gears are facing inward, the teeth are facing inward, and it's flat the entire way. So now we can actually slide the laser up with the belt. If you pull the belt, it should actually slide it. I'm steady pulling this belt. And then we're going to come down the back side of the gantry here. So let me turn this around. Kind of went the long way, didn't I? Alright, so now that we have this in, as you can see again, the teeth are towards the rail. I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to show you an easy way to do this. So what we have to do is we have to put this belt inside here. You can see it coming in right here. If you can see that, probably not, it's okay. And once the belt comes up into this hole, once the belt comes up into this slot here, we're going to actually use my little wrench here, and I'm going to push it through. I'm going to push the belt all the way through, just like my wrench just did. And once it comes out this side, then I'm going to feed it back down this side. So it's actually really easy. So I'm going to do it a couple times here for you. So just take your belt, make sure that you obviously have it flat. It's super important, it has to be flat. And then I'm going to feed it, kind of make it straight, and I'm just going to feed it straight in. It just immediately just goes right there, and I'm actually going to use this, and I'm just going to push it lightly. As I'm pushing this lightly, and as you can see, it came right out the other side. Piece of cake. As soon as it came out the other side, that's what I want. I'm going to pull it all the way out, nice and easy. And again, double check yourself, make sure everything is flat. And then all we got to do now is put it in here and just feed it straight up. Really simple, just like that. Make sure this is flat, like that, and then, you know, put it in here and feed it straight up. Very simple. So you can see how easy that was. It's already in there, and boom, just like that. And then now all we gotta do is attach it on this side of the laser, which is actually easier than the first part. So here, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the laser toward me so that I can work with it. And you probably won't be able to see. Try here. It's really difficult with the camera. Be careful when you lift this up. You don't want this to go shooting downward. All you're going to do is use a little slot right here. Same exact thing we did the front. We're going to hold it like this, and we're going to just slide this just like that. So it's going to sit just like this inside the slot. Really simple. So if you want to jack this up, hold this. If you want to make sure this does not slide, put something on it, or if you could just work with it otherwise. I'm trying to show you. So I'm actually going to just hold this flat, goes behind the metal plate here, and just goes straight up into there. You may have to pull this towards you a little bit, and it actually should be pretty loose once you do it, and I'll show you why. And then now, and you kind of feed it here and here, and that's it, just like that. So I'm going to show you real quick what I got. Hold on to that. You can see that right there. Right there. Just slips right up in there, and that's it. It goes behind it, and you're done. Now, in your box, you should have gotten a lot of zip ties. And like, see this piece here? Wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe fold that over and put a little zip tie on it. I wouldn't recommend cutting it yet, or at all. Just in case it has to come back off or there's something wrong, maybe just put a zip tie to hold it together. That's up to you. I'm going to just leave mine at the moment. But that's it for feeding the belt. Now, it's probably going to be loose, and I'm going to show you what you have to do. And it's actually better that it's loose. That's why I told you to scoot this all the way forward, because now the belt is way too loose. But if it wasn't loose and it was tighter, you would have had a heck of a time trying to get these pieces in there. And that's why I told you to move it forward there. And if you have a difficult time, like you can't get it to reach or for whatever reason, go ahead and unloosen this and push it in like that, and that will give it more release. If for some reason that it's just too tight, you just can't fit it in there, just do that, and then kind of pull it with your hand, and you're going to feel that pull. Now that's the tension you want, like this. If you pull this with your hand, it's the tension you want. But I'm going to show you what is different on mine, which might be the same thing as yours. When I tighten this, that's about as far as I can tighten it. I can't tighten it anymore, but it's still too loose. So what we have to do is then take these and adjust them. But before we do that, I want you to unloosen this about 1, 2, maybe 3 turns. And the reason why, because once we adjust this back, we want to be able to have 3 turns of adjustment on this if we need it. So now all we got to do is loosen these screws and pull this whole piece back here, as you can see, the whole piece. And it might actually be a little too much, but pull it back just snug with your hand, pretty tight, and tighten them back up if you can. Like, don't over tighten them, but tighten them back up. And then now you're going to notice that you can unloosen, you can loosen, give it more, loosen your belt, and you can also put more tension on your belt. So that's why we backed it off a couple turns. So I'm actually going to back it off right now till I can feel that it's loose now. And then I'm going to move my laser, and you can kind of watch your belt here. You see how floppy that is? It's not bad, but it's a little floppy. Now if I tighten this a little bit, I can move it, but I can feel it. It's actually, it has some, it's much more, has much more tension on it now, much more. You don't want it too tight, and you don't want it too loose. So make sure that it moves, freely. Too tight and you'll see it'll get hard. Just want to kind of get a nice, smooth, nice and snug feel on that. Okay, so that's the belt. Pretty easy to do. Like I said, just go up that way, forward in, and then double check your work. I'm always double checking everything and making sure I have the grommets where they're supposed to be. Everything, of course, this is your new tool, be your friend. Okay, so now for the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to put on the drag chain support rail. Basically, this goes on the back side of the machine here. You're looking at, this is the rear of the machine I have at me right now. And I'm going to pull this toward me slowly. I always move my motor slow. You don't want to burn them up or anything. You're going to need 3 of the M3/6 screws. Whoops, 1, 2, 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the drag chain up on here like so. And we're only going to put 3 screws on this end. This end is the one with the belt tensioner. So we're only going to put the 3 screws here, and we're not going to put any screws here. We will be putting screws in here with the drag chain, but we're not putting any in there right now. So how the support goes is you're going to see a lip here, and this goes toward the back and the bottom. So it's not up top like this, it's actually on the bottom like this, and it's going to go just like this here. Whoops. Just like this here. Down there. And we're going to put the 3 screws right here. So, and you actually should see that there's holes here for the other nuts that are already there. Or the screws rather. So I'm going to put this one in, get it started. I never like to tighten them until I get them all in and then snug them, just in case you have to move it a little bit. And then just go ahead and tighten them in. Make sure this is on here like it's supposed to be on this end. Okay, so now you have that. Just be careful because remember there's no screws over here. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to the control panel and the drag chain and wiring. So I'm going to slide this forward, turn my machine around and get my stuff. Okay, so now we're going to, actually we are on step 18 of part 2. We're going to install the control panel box here and the control box, and then we're going to put the drag chain in. The bottom one's going to go here and wrap up here, and the top one's going to go up across here. So before we get started on that, I want to show you and remind you of a few things that we did. I'm going to move this out of the way for a minute here. So you might find this a little bit awkward since it's a lot of wire and a lot of the drag chain in the wire, or the wiring in the drag chain. If you remember earlier, we had the there's that drag chain piece down here. Let me turn this around so you can see. Remember the drag chain piece that was around here earlier? We're actually going to take this wire and we're going to slip it right in here. Not the drag chain, but the wire, and I'll show you. So now you see that. I'm going to take a picture when we do it so you'll have a better understanding, but I would say have plenty of room on this side because that's where you're going to be working a lot. So I'm going to turn mine, and I would say take your drag chain, run it right up the side here, just unroll it right up onto the machine here, and then pull this around. And what our goal here is this is going to mount on here. This wiring is going to actually come from the inside here, and the end of this drag chain is going to mount on here, and the drag chain is going to go under here and wrap up. That's the sum of it here. So make sure you have everything here smooth, including the air tube here. And actually, we'll pull the air tube out here. And this sheathing here is going to go underneath of the machine. It's going to go in the back like that. And then the control box is going to stay on the outside here. So what I've got is I've got my, careful of your drag chain, like I said, I've got my control box here. The wiring all comes up underneath here. Make sure nothing's pinched right in here. That's super important. Make sure nothing's pinched right here. And it's going to slide over. And make sure everything's coming out here nice and okay. Once you get this part right here, I'm going to go ahead and put these two screws in right here. These are the M5-20 screws. Let's see. We're going to secure the control box so that it's not going to go anywhere. Again, when you tighten this, make sure you don't pinch any wires in here. Just tighten them down. Once you get them tight, double check yourself again. Turn this around a little bit. Make sure you're looking in here. Okay, double check yourself. Make sure you've got no pinch wires, and the drag chain is going to go here. Now, I'm going to show you the easiest way I found to put this drag chain on here. Tried a couple different ways, and what I found was to take this drag chain, and it's going to go like this, okay? This is where it's going to mount, but I don't want you to mount it yet. You can't mount it yet, actually. If for some reason you cannot fit your drag chain in here because the screws aren't loose enough, they should be. As long as you left them pretty loose, they should be enough where you could just slip the drag chain right in there. Like mine can go in there. But if you can't, for whatever reason, just come down here. Oops. And right here, we're going to use these two right here, and we're going to just put them right inside there. And then we're going to, like this, then we're going to just feed the drag chain. Oops, I did it backwards. Whoop, now just turn it over. Then we're going to just feed the drag chain and just kind of roll it, just like that. That's how you have to do it. Now, if you couldn't put the drag chain in, the first time I did it, I had them too tight and I couldn't, so I had to do it that way. This time I could do it this way. So, however it works for you, just when you do it, be careful. Don't twist and pull the wires too much. Don't forget you have a limit switch here. You don't want to damage that. If you can fit it under there, great. If you cannot, then so be it. So before we move on to any of the other pieces here, what I want to do is we have to tighten up this piece now. So I found the easiest way to do this is using our little friend here again and putting it underneath the frame here. Whoops, where's that here? Actually underneath the motor, I think is where I had it here. And then getting my wrench and just reaching under there and tightening it up. That's entirely up to you. If I would not recommend turning the machine over at this point. I can actually see where that's at and whoops, get under there and just tighten them up. If you can't get that like that, go ahead and put it up higher if you need to. Just keep this close to the motor so it's not wobbling off and on, like right there. And then now you should be able to see. Make sure I have the right wrench. Yep, see, now I can see right in there, and just tighten it right up. When you do, make sure you're not pinching the belt and the belt is in there freely. And just snug them up. I just find this to be a little easier, you know, to give a little helping hand to hold it up out of the way for you. Okay, so I got them tightened, and I'm going to go ahead and lift this up. Take my trusty little tool out, make sure you put this down nice and neatly, and I'm actually not even going to turn it. So now you should have your drag chain like this. This piece here is going to roll up on top of here. So what we need to do is put 3 screws here, and we're going to put 3 screws here and hold this in place. And you may need to push some of this wire in or pull back, however you want to do. I like to pull a little bit so it's looser, because what you got to do is pull these wires up out of the way to expose the 3 holes. Okay, so down here we're going to put 3 of the M3 6 screws. Basically what you have to do is hold this out of the way. So I like to put the screw on the wrench here and kind of stick it in the hole so it's in the hole right now, and then kind of move it around till it actually drops in there, and then just give it a couple turns. That's the best way I found to do it. And then before I really tighten it, do the exact same thing with the other ones. Just drop it in there and give it a good turn. If it won't line up, you may have to move this left or right a little bit. And then I'm going to do the 3rd one, and then I'll snug them all in. Just be very careful of the wiring. Okay, so just be very careful, because we're going to need to plug this wire in. This one's going to get plugged into your limit switch. This one is your rotary connector, and then you have your air tube right here. So you have that connected, it's on here, and now what we're going to do is we're going to slide this around, and then we're going to connect this one up here like so. Okay, now moving on to the next step here, what we're going to do is connect up drag chain here and the drag chain here. For this we need 3 of the M3 6 screws and 3 of the M3 8 screws. So the first part here is going to be the M3-6 screws right here, and up on the top part here is going to be the M3-8 screws. So the first thing we're going to do is exact same thing we did down here. We're going to just take the M3-6 screw, and we're going to put them into the 3 holes. Oops. Again, you're going to have to pull, you may have to pull this, well, you will have to pull the wire back a little bit. Oops. I gotta find it easier to, darn it, hold on to. Put it in the hole, and then just, you know, move it around. Here we go. Oh, no. Until I feel it seated, and then I'll give it a couple turns. Same thing here. Let's see. Yep. And then the 3rd one. Okay. All right, now that you have this secure, we are going to turn this a little bit, and we're going to connect up this one. Now this one, same thing, flat, you got the 3 holes and it's actually going to rest on the rail, and then the other screws are going to hold it right here. So in the meantime, I would recommend just putting it like this. This will help hold it for you over here so it doesn't fall this way and kind of help keep it in place. And then you're going to pull these back and put the screws right here. Now these are the M3-8 screws. If you have this laying out over here, it's going to keep twisting it, so you can help, you know, you don't want to go too far, but if it holds it right here, it's not bad. It will keep it where it won't flop around on you. So make sure these wires are up out of the way, and they're going to be accessible down over here or wherever they need to go. And slide this forward, and let's get a screw in there. Okay, now that we have this in place, just don't worry about this just yet. What I want you to do is pull this to you, and again, we're going to, you have the M3-6 screws are going to go up here, so let's get them. Okay, so we got the M3-6 screws, and we're going to put them up here, like so. Get one of them started. Make sure you're not crimping any wires under the screws or nothing like that. Just keep making sure they're out of the way. Alright, so a couple things now. You're going to notice these wires here are just way too short. Obviously they're way too short. They're not going to be able to reach any of this stuff here, and you're going to have the excess wire here. So before you move any of that, make sure you clean this up. Like, you may have to take these wires, move them out under your air tube maybe, or because they're going to need to come to the motors here. This one, or one of them, and this one is going to, I'm not even sure where it's going. Looks like limit switch, yeah, limit switch under here. So just make sure that they are able to be moved around. And it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to connect these up first. So these are both the, well, this is the X motor, this is the X motor, this is the Y motor. So the X here is going to go on the top, and the Y is going to go on the bottom. So again, there's two little pieces that are going to go, they only go one way, but just make sure you get the Y on the bottom, X on the top, and then you have your limit switch right here. And again, make sure nothing is, you know, being blocked or anything. And we're going to plug the limit switch in, and now we have the excess cable, and also this is too short. So if you move your laser down away from you, you'll then be able to adjust the wire. You can then grab these wires, and if you push down here while you pull here, you can see it's coming out. You'll get more length here, which is what I needed, and it actually cleaned it up here. Now, one thing I would recommend is to secure this down with a zip tie. I don't like it just flopping like that, and I don't want it to hit the wheels down here. So I would say maybe zip tie it right about here. All right, so let's do that over again here. I want to secure this down and make sure that it's not going to be in the way here. Just kind of roll it down and make sure you got clearance here. And then I'm going to go ahead and zip tie this in here to keep it from not hitting anything. Let me go this way with it. Oops. Yeah, I like to just have it, you know, buttoned up. That's why we gave you some extra zip ties, you know, however you want to clear it up. Make sure it's not in the rollers, and nice and secure up here. You know, just out of the way, and yeah, so that's good. So that's good. And grab that, and you could actually put that in here if you want to. So, whoops, not very tight, is it? There we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we need to connect up the laser. So this is your air tube, and then you have your flame sensor here, which is right here. Before I connect that though, you also have a limit switch right under here. If you remember the limit switch on the x-axis, and that is going to be, this is the black wire is your laser, and the X limit switch is the white one. If they're both black or they're both white, the X is the one that goes onto the limit switch, and it goes so that the grooves and the little slots here face outward. So I'm going to go ahead and connect that up. Get in there. Okay, so I've got the X in there, and I've got my air hose here. I've got my laser plug here, which has number 1 on it. And so I'm going to go ahead and plug up the flame detector here. It goes on one way, and then I'm going to go ahead and plug up the laser. And I'm going to make sure everything is good out of the way. If you feel as if you kind of look it over, if you feel as if your wire is too close to your rollers or anything, again, we have zip ties so that you can button that up however you see fit. Me personally, I think I would like to put one up under here, but you also could pull this wire back. As you see, it pulls it back now, which actually pulls it in there, so that's good also, and that kind of keeps it out of the way. But you know, your setup may be a little bit different. So I'm going to turn this around and show you how to hook up the air hose. Really easy. Pull this way. The air hose here, you have your blue connector, and if it's leaning back, just kind of put it straight up and down, and then you have your, this is why I want to zip tie this, as you can see. Then you have your little, this is your airflow adjuster valve. So probably it might already be turned all the way in. If it is turned all the way in, no air is going to come out. So once you hook your pump up, if you go, oh, no air is coming out, this could be why, because you may have to unloosen this to let air out. But we'll come back to that. So your air tube goes in here, and how it works is you're going to push it till it stops, and then you're going to hold this and give it another push. And you're going to feel it snap in. Make sure these are tight too, by the way. And you're going to feel it snap in. And what it did is it went ahead and clicked in. And now this piece here, you can't pull the hose back out unless you actually press down on the blue. So for me to get that out, I hold my hand here to help support it. Push down on the blue and pull up on the hose. And if you actually, before put the hose, if you push down, you can see what I'm talking about. So just push the hose until it stops, and then push it more, and you'll just feel it slip right in there. And then there's your x-axis. You have your x-axis should move freely up and down. Okay, so now that we have it all together, your x-axis should move up and down freely. If it does not, this is your lock right here on this side. So unloosen that, and then now you'll see that you can move it up and down. So basically what it's for is you're going to move it to your material wherever it would be, and then you're going to just kind of snug that up, and it helps kind of keep it in place. Your laser lens here, it has the 4 magnets on the top here, so it kind of sticks there. The slot goes in the back, so it just kind of clicks right on there, and then you can kind of put your laser down. Oops, I locked it back up again. Then lower your laser to where you want it to be, and so forth. So I'm going to take this back off. Alright, so now we have 2 more steps. Let's turn this around. This is your other access motor over here. We have the white wire. This wire basically is just going to plug right into your X-axis motor. No problem. Oops, turned it the long way again. As you can see, it's just going to plug right in. If it is too tight and it won't go, you can pull this wire. It'll actually slide a little bit up and down under here. Just don't pull it downward. You don't want to pull it out of the slot. You want to just pull it this way. Like I like to just put my finger on it and kind of like give it a little pull. But you should have plenty. But if it, for some reason, I did have to move mine a little bit. Just kind of have to put that in there. I start on the angle on this one and boom, put it right in there. Like I said, if you have to, you could just kind of pull it a little bit. and but just don't pull it down out of the channel. You don't want to do that. So now what we're going to do is connect up the other limit switch up front, and pretty much almost it. So here you have your limit switch right here, and if you see my wiring here, I'm actually going to put this underneath of the wire instead of going over it, because I don't want to, you know, go over it and force it or whatever. Just kind of fish them through however you need to make it fit correctly. On this one, the same thing. You have your little the grooves in here, and the little pieces, the little slots right here, they go downward. So it's going to go like this, and it goes right under here. If you have to, I'll show you. So if you have to, you can use this to prop it up. Be very careful. But if you have to do it to see, like right now I can actually see it a lot better. Slip it in there, no problem. Just be careful of that switch. And then let's put that back down. So over here, now that you have the limit switch connected, a couple things I want to mention. You have on the back here a switch. That is your rotary switch. When your rotary switch is off, which is where the line, there's a 0 and a line. So when it's on line, the rotary is off, and then your machine will function normally. And this is your Y, and this is your X. When your rotary is on, your Y motors will no longer work this way, only your X will go this way, and that is for your rotary unit. And then this is where your rotary plugs into. So before you even get started, look back here, make sure your switch is off, it's on the line, and that will make sure that these are now engaged, the motors. Another thing is your E-stop, go ahead and push it in, and then turn it to make it click it. If it's already pushed in, just turn it to unclick it. Double check that, make sure that it is clicked, or it is released, because if it's not, once it's pushed in, nothing will work at all. So let's turn that up. And one other thing I like to do is, you see the power buttons pressed down, and now it's up. That is on, that is off. Let's make sure it's off. We don't want to plug it in and just have everything activate. So we want to make sure that is off. Your E-stop button is released, and your rotary is turned off. Is on the 0. All right, we actually have 2 more things left. First one is your cylinder holder. Over on the left side here, you'll notice you have 2 holes for your M5 L20 screws, and these are going to go, your cylinder holder is going to go like this, so it's considering like that, and look for your 2 holes here, and basically all you got to do is just put them in like so. Get the first one started. And then get the next one. Like that. Obviously make sure the hole is up so that your cylinder just sits like that. Pretty easy. As you can see that right there. And the last step is the feet. So you have 4 legs like this here. And basically all you got to do is just unloosen this a little bit to make sure that it is you know, up. And what you're going to do is you're going underneath of the frame all the way around, you have a slot just like this. Obviously it's going to be on the bottom. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your T-nut in here, and then you're going to turn it. And you turn it, and you're going to tighten it. And then that's going to lock in your leg. Now you have 2 pieces to your leg. You've got the top part, and then you've got the extension. So you could take, actually if you want to separate them, it might be a little bit easier, separate them and then put just the top one on. And then when you want to, because that won't actually touch if you see it, but then when you want to jack it up, you can then just put the bottom foot on like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put mine on, and then I'm going to show you what to do here at this corner real quick. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this one on, and just kind of put it up in there and spin it, slide it down right there in the corner, I guess, wherever you want. And then just turn it till it's snug. And I'm going to do the back one here so you can see it. Here's another one. Let me move these out of the way. Separate it. Loosen that up a little bit. I'm going to turn this. And then basically, I'm going to pull this forward so you can see. Really easy. I'm just going to kind of put it underneath, move it up in there, and then turn it. Tighten it. Turn it to the right, obviously. Tighten it. You can slide it in the very, very corner here if you want. Wherever you see fit to fit your. Nice thing is it actually go up and down the rail anywhere you want it. Obviously not here. You're probably going to want to, definitely don't put them on this frame here. You're going to want to put it on the front and back frame only, because your Y-axis, your gantry is going to be going up and down, so it can only go on the front and rear rails. You can see that, how I have that in. See if I can zoom that in for you. So that's pretty much all you're going to do, is you're going to put them at the 4 different locations. I'm going to go ahead and put mine on. Okay, I have all 3 of my the first part of the legs in, and then I have the extensions right here. These I'll put underneath when I want to lift it up. But this one here I want to show you. Basically what you got to do is to get underneath of this front rail, not the side, but the front rail, you have a harness here. You have to move the harness out of the way a little bit. Just going to push it forward up this way so you can see what I'm doing here. Just kind of push it up out of the way, and then you're going to put the leg up in there. It's hard to do with one hand. Just like so, and then basically just turn it, tighten it, just like the others. And once it's snug, then it's in there, and you'll see that the harness should stay out of the way, and it's snug. Now, like I said, now all you gotta do is take your extensions and just screw them on the bottom if you want to lift it up for, let's say, like a rotary, or if you have a larger piece of wood or anything like that. And as you can see, it will lift it up. Okay, that's it. That's all. The legs are on. As you can see, it's lifted up now. Should be high enough for your rotary unit. I believe we're going to, or you can get, if we don't have them now, even more extensions. That's the nice thing about this, is you can extend it up however how you want. Just got to get additional extensions. I believe we're going to have those available. And but this should be good for any type of, taller material. You can lift this up for your rotary. One thing I want to note was putting this one on, I accidentally pushed down my E-stop, so make sure you double check that your E-stop is not pressed. I accidentally pressed mine. If it's pressed and you turn it on, it's not going to do anything, so make sure that is depressed. And make sure that your rotary switch is on the I or the L position, which is off. The O is on, and the line or the L is off. This way it'll function normal. And let's go on to the next one. Okay, so one more thing is your air pump, which I absolutely love. You did a fabulous work with that. So how this works is, this is your connector tube, because this tube was smaller, obviously. So this is your connector tube, goes on there, and then this is your adapter that reduces it down so it fits to this size. Now, how this works is you push it in until it stops, and then you push it in again till it grabs. Very similar to this hose, and then the same thing with this end. Push it in until it grabs. You can't pull it out. You have to push down on the black to pull it out, and that's how you have it all. Now, I ran a quick test, and this hose fits directly inside this hole, and put it in there nice and snug, and I get the same amount of airflow as I did with this adapter on it. So that's your choice. If you find it better running this way, that's great. If you don't, You want to put it this way, that's fine also. Either way, it worked perfectly fine for me. If I ever run into any problems, then this is what you do. You just put this piece into the larger end till it stops, and then push it some more, and then take this end and push it till it stops, push it more, and then just put that right, put that right on there, and you're good to go. Or if you want to do my method, you can just put it right inside there. So that is it, and I hope that this helps explain everything for you guys. And if you have any questions, let us know. And my next video, we're going to go ahead and power this baby up. We're going to install the drivers, and we're going to make sure everything works, go through a test, and run a test burn and test all the functions of it. Jungle.